Please welcome back Martin Nisenholtz and Derek Gottfrid.
Thanks. Yeah. So let's start with some numbers. Sometimes Facebook and Twitter seem to get all the love and all the time. But in any event, the numbers on Tumblr. What do you think? What's going on these days?
The numbers are good. So Tumblr has grown phenomenally in the last 2 or 3 years, particularly in the last year. We're now seeing about 17 billion page views. It's 72 million blogs. It's about 60 million posts a day. 32 billion posts lifetime. Great engagement around our mobile apps. So we have put out some best-of-class mobile apps earlier this year. So, and the one thing that I think really starts to differentiate Tumblr in some ways is the time spent. So I think time spent on a per session basis is something that's pretty different in this media consumption experience. And so we see about 20 minutes per visit per user. So I think that's something that Facebook has to a certain degree, but I think it's pretty distinct about Tumblr.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, I mean, there are a number of different platforms out there now. It's many years ago, people could express themselves principally on blog platforms like WordPress or Blogger, and then Facebook came along, and Twitter, and now Pinterest Path. Tumblr, what distinguishes Tumblr, not so much from a consumer perspective in terms of time spent, but as a platform for creation? Is it the emphasis on photos? Is it, what do people principally use it for?
So, David, when he started this 5 years ago.
David Karp,
our CEO, founder, and my boss. When he started 5 years ago, the world probably didn't necessarily need another blogging platform. I think WordPress was fairly well established, Blogger was there. But some of the innovations around, blogging is hard. You get that big text box that you have to fill in. You have to know spelling and grammar. What we do on Tumblr is we have these 7 post types. And it actually lowers the barrier to entry. So anybody, whether or not you're a long form writer, can have a way to express themselves. And that's really where Tumblr originated, those 7 post types. And those are text, so you can still do that classic long form, but it also supports photos, video, audio, links, chats, and quotes. And just by doing simple things like making photo its own post type, makes it so much easier for people to get on board, and not feel the weight of a big kind of content management system.
Right.
So I think it's kind of reduced the barrier to entry. And I think that combined with the theming that we have, the ability to kind of put your content there, but then display it the way you want, I think is pretty differentiated. I think, on Facebook, your page looks a lot like my page with different pictures. On Tumblr, if you look at my blog versus Beyonce's blog versus the Obama campaign's blog, they all look radically different. They just feel different, but they're all connected together. And I think that's the part that is really exciting for us, to allow people to kind of express themselves, make it as easy as possible, and then connect them together in a consumption framework.
So how much is this shift going to mobile on Tumblr now? My sense is you guys, by the way, Derek is a developer. I mean, he's not a marketing person. He's a geek.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so runs the product development area at Tumblr. So I'm going to get into a little bit of that for a couple of minutes. Just as you think about this move from the desktop to mobile, and fascinating statistic before from a guy from BBDO said 70% of mobile use is actually in the home, which I thought was interesting. How do you think of development moving from the desktop to the mobile space as a programmer, as a developer?
I think, we were probably not, David, my boss, he's now 26, and he feels he's really old, and in some ways, like he's a web guy. So mobile has kind of come up in the last 5-6 years where it really is the year of mobile. And so we've had a renewed emphasis on mobile and making sure it has the great experience. I think one of the really positive things for us has been for a company that's incredibly focused on user experience, to now have devices that actually allow us to deliver a user experience that we're satisfied with and that rivals the desktop and has the ability to add additional capabilities. So it's much easier to take a photo with your phone than it is with your laptop. It's much easier to do a bunch of things on your phone than it is with your laptop. So I think part of it is opening up a whole new creative element, and then allowing us to be kind of this always connected piece with the network. And so we're still seeing long engagement times on mobile comparative to all the other social type of apps. I think games still kill everybody. But we're really excited to kind of see the next generation of mobile, really LTE, the 5, all that stuff has been really positive for us.
And so do you have any numbers? I mean, is 50% of your traffic on mobile now, or 10%? What?
It's just under 30%.
Just under 30.
Just under 30%. And so it's picked up in this last year. I mean, one of the things that, is not shocking, but the better your mobile app is, and the better experience, the more people gravitate to it. So while the web has continued to grow, mobile's grown faster as we've provided better and better experience.
And I take it you like the native code, you're not creating HTML5 responsive design applications.
Yeah, so it's a native app that's totally built in. You can really take advantage of the device in ways that you can't in HTML5. So, it's been kind of a long road to get to that, but I think it's worth the kind of investment and really get the performance and kind of nail the user experience. A lot of what we do is really focused on having a lot of empathy for the user and really thinking about how they feel when they use the app.
So let's switch over to the marketing side for just a moment. It's you built this enormous audience, and you're now in the process of beginning to monetize it. I had Jonah Peretti here yesterday, and we were talking about his native advertising, non-standard banner ads, and we've had these conversations before, Derek. What can Tumblr bring to the marketing community? I mean, your approach is a native one as well, right? You're not doing banners, I take it, right?
Yeah. So I mean, our approach is really to leverage the tools that we provided for our bloggers. So, 32 billion posts, 60 million a day is a lot of content that people are creating, and it's content that is quality. I mean, there's some subjective nature to it, but the time spent consuming that we see on our dashboard, I think, kind of validates that we've provided some tools and connected with the right people. So our goal really is to enable brands to use those same tools, and our feeling is that brands historically online haven't had great opportunities to tell big branded stories. We've seen a big focus on kind of the targeting, all the stuff that goes on in the RTB area, the stuff that Facebook does. And our goal is not to try and compete on just the targeting. We have a huge network, but to compete with other non-digital forms and really bring large branded advertising to give it a place and home on the web that we think is much more native. So the dashboard is really, in some ways, this is the other innovation that David brought to Tumblr, is that we don't actually just create and offer a place for you to create those things, but we offer a consumption experience. So if you think about the way Google had Blogger and Reader and never really joined the two. WordPress is a great content management system, but it's not perhaps the best way to consume that. You have to go through a reader or go. the Tumblr dashboard is this great consumption experience. And so to give brands the opportunity to tell big stories, big visual stories, using things like video and photos and animated GIFs and sound and text, the same tools our users do, I think that's the part that's really exciting.
Can you give any examples of some of the early
Yeah, so
programs?
one of our initial launch partners was Adidas around the Euro Cup in June. They did some phenomenal content. I think it worked and spoke really well to the community. Coke has run a series with us that's been really well received. So we have on this dashboard that has all the posts that you program and you set up, we have a spot that's carved out for editorial. It's really about discovery. We call it the radar, and it's been with us for a long time. The opportunity to buy into that spot, Coke has done. And so they had a very simple visual of a can of Coke in front of a pool. And this was in the August timeframe. It was really hot, and the pool was animated. This unit was liked and reblogged over 70,000 times in the course of 24 hours.
Wow.
And that's the kind of engagement where people were expecting to see this content in that spot. So, and I think one of the things that we found is great content has a life of its own. So whether it's a great book, a great song, or a great photo, they can go for a very long time. So I imagine that we'll continue to collect more reblogs, and it'll still look great in February when it's cold outside. I think, and those are the kind of stories that are hard to tell and make an impact on other networks. And so that's the part that we're really excited about.
So you just hired your first head of advertising, right?
Yep, Lee Brown is now running our global sales effort, and we're staffing up and building out that whole team. We had a great run through the summer with a lot of early beta partners, but we've been able to go cross-category, so it's things like autos, CPG, entertainment and movies, fashion, apparel, sporting goods. And so I think any brand that has a big story to tell that hasn't found a great place online to tell that has a new opportunity at Tumblr.
So what do you think is next? I mean, you know, obviously without giving out any trade secrets, you know, you're head of the product team.
Sure.
What's exciting in that world, and what do you think people out here can expect to see next from Tumblr?
Sure. So our real focus is on making the product smaller and simpler. And so, you know, one of the things that's really unique about Tumblr is that we've thrown out a bunch of stuff, and we're not going to kind of kitchen sink the product. And so our goal is to make it simpler, more obvious, and much easier to find content. So we're really focused on making sure when anybody shows up to Tumblr, whether they're a registered user or someone coming for the first time, that they're going to find the best stuff that they really enjoy and love. And so we have the content. The challenge now is connecting those users with the content.
And do you find that being in New York is a particularly good place to find developers? I mean, I think, you know, most of the companies that have really succeeded in this space have been on the West Coast.
Sure.
It's really kind of interesting that this one company is sort of down at 17th Street or 19th Street. You know, you've got Facebook out, and you know, obviously in Palo Alto and Twitter in San Francisco and Pinterest, Instagram, they're all out there. It's just very interesting to me. You know, sorry about that. I'm sorry. Yeah, except this one is, you know, is kind of special. So,
Thank you.
Foot in mouth.
I think a New York company, whether it's any of those companies that the gentleman reminded us of, or Tumblr, I think one of the advantages for us is that, you know, when we looked at how we wanted to go about monetization and we looked at advertising, it really informed us based the fact that we are literally 2 blocks from Madison Avenue, that when we go out and have drinks at night, we're surrounded by media and agency folks.
Right.
And I think so that has informed a lot of the thinking that's gone on. And so if you look out in California, you know, and being involved in the kind of product development of our ad products, it's pretty obvious to see why Google, you know, met with some of these people and said, oh my God, I really don't want to be involved in that. Here's a form, fill it out, and you can just auction and buy your way in, right? Because it's a messy system. So when we do some of these deals, there's, you know, 2 agencies, and then there's the brand and all this stuff. For us, I think, you know, we're much more focused on the human and the people. And so we're at a distinct advantage. We wanted to be in a city. Everyone that's, you know, works at Tumblr lives in the city. They like the crowded. They like rubbing up against other people. And so they're not hiding back behind a form to fill out, and we'll auction off to the highest bidder, you know, this ad spot. So I think New York has been a real blessing. David Karp, born and raised here, so I don't think he's ever looked west and wanted to head that way.
Well, great. So thanks very much, Derek. It's been a pleasure having you.